Hello, friends and listeners, and welcome to Get a Cat, Get a Horse.
The gosh darn best nerd culture podcast around.
The very best. I'm Will.
And I'm a Manny.
And today is episode 17, and we ain't afraid of no ghosts.
It's actually like a really good title.
It is a really good title.
Oh my gosh, Will, we have a guest this week.
You know, I keep on trying to lock the studio doors, and people just randomly wander in, and then we're like, okay, you can be on the podcast, I guess. So who is it today that has wandered
person.
in?
Yeah, who are you?
My name is Ethan, and I'm a ghost.
Oh,
wow. We should.
Hi everyone, I'm Ethan.
Oh, we should have discussed this. We should have done this entire thing in character, as you were like a ghost from the movie coming in. Yeah.
Next time.
Missed opportunities.
Excellent.
Right. So, Ethan, could you tell us a little bit about your self and your pop culture / nerdiness that has brought you onto our fine program?
Yeah. Well, I have like a plethora of qualifications to be on this podcast. So I'm an illustration major. I go to BYU in Utah. I'm a fan of the Kardashians. I'm really into that fandom. I really like animated movies. I love animation. That was originally my major before I became an illustration major. So I'm really into just like cartoons. I like books, even though I don't really read. And I'm also a huge fan of film. But
nice.
You know, like film, like not movies. Like
there's an important distinction there.
Yeah.
You come on a nerd culture podcast, and the first thing you say is, "I like the Kardashians." That's really going to endear you to our listeners, don't you think, Will?
I think so. I mean,
think
there's
easily 80% of our listeners are a fan of the Kardashians. I would say we should do a poll. Don't you think?
Oh my gosh.
There's probably a lot of layers to that, a particular fandom that I am just unaware of. It could be an entire episode in the future.
Yeah, I'm only a fan of the canon
of Kardashian. Yeah, that's the true question: is what is all the Instagram and Twitter stuff? Does that count in the fandom of Kardashian?
I mean, just any sort of just like fan fiction or just parodies. Like I'm not into. I'm only into the canon. But no, it's like realistically though, like I really, even though I don't think I'm like into as nerd culture as you guys, I definitely appreciate it, and I think there's a lot of material that I really like to
dabble.
Yeah, like I mean, I like to read. I do like to watch television. I'm really into animation. I'm not a huge comic book reader, but I mean, I don't think that's the only facet of nerd culture. Like I think there's part that includes me. So
cool.
Well
awesome.
said, buddy. Look at you.
Cool.
You started off a little shaky there, but then you finished strong.
Well, I'm a professional. So.
Yeah, you are.
Cool. Well, thank you for joining us today, and we, like I hinted at on the title, are going to be discussing Ghostbusters, both the original and the 2016 reboot, which we have all seen within the last probably 3 or 4 days. I know we said last week that we were probably going to be doing the top 5 revisited, but that didn't happen. And it will be happening at some point in the future, but I'm not good at budgeting my time to consume these things, so we'll see when exactly it does. So, Amani, do you want to take off the discussion for us around the Ghostbusters and what we all thought about this new movie?
Yeah, I think we're going to start off pretty basic, and we're just going to talk about the reboot as a movie, kind of separate from the original. I know that's going to be kind of hard. Will, I know you have really strong.
No, I mean, well, they tried to do that. They tried to do that themselves, so we might as well play, you know.
Let's just jump in. What do you guys think of the movie, the reboot? It's weird because they're both called Ghostbusters. So Ghostbusters New. Ghostbusters 2.0.
Ghostbusters.
All new, all different Ghostbusters.
All new, all different Ghostbusters. Yeah, let's talk about it. Will, what'd you think? You saw it yesterday, didn't you?
I did. I saw it yesterday at 10:10 a.m., the earliest I've ever seen a movie in my life, I think. Probably the earliest I've been awake in the last 4 weeks, too, so.
Were you like the only person over the age of 18 in that theater?
It was a lot of older people, for sure. A lot of older folks.
So it was everyone over 18.
Yeah, I think it was all like middle-aged / older people who are like awake at that time, because they're gonna go to bed at like 4, so that's like a medium time for them. So they were like ready for the matinee. I wasn't quite ready, but I had my giant Diet Coke in hand, got some caffeine in my body, and sat down, and I liked it a lot more than I thought I would. I was like expecting to really hate it. And I didn't. I thought it was all right. I don't know. I haven't talked with you guys previous to this, so I don't know if you're in total disagreement with that or not. But I thought my like general thoughts on it was that I thought it was actually pretty funny when it was doing the comedy parts, but it also felt like two different movies. Like it felt like they would do. Because 3 out of the 4 main characters are Saturday Night Live, either alumnus or are currently on it. Leslie Jones and Kate McKinnon and Kristen Wiig. And then Melissa McCarthy is basically an SNL player anyway in like the style of her comedy. So it felt to me like they would do 20 minutes of SNL where they were just doing like different sketches, and then all of a sudden they would like forget like, oh shit, we're a Ghostbusters movie. And then they would say like, ectoplasm, magnet, something, electronuclear thing, and a ghost would appear, and they would spout some like awful science bullshit, and then that would stop, and then they'd go back to SNL for 20 minutes. So like, the SNL parts I thought were pretty funny. Like overall, I laughed at most of the interactions, but I do think like, as a movie that was trying to be maybe like an action horror comedy, sort of like the original Ghostbusters, you know, which kind of wove in the comedy into the interactions and into like the ghost hunting and stuff, I felt like it really failed at that pretty spectacularly. Like it's just sort of felt like 4 people doing comedy sketches and then some kind of mediocre like action science bullshit on the side. And the only thing that like really took me out of it is, and I know that this is like just my particular humor, because there were people in the theater that were like laughing their ass off about this, but I found Leslie Jones like just actively unfunny. Like I could not stand her in this movie. I just, every time she came on, I was just oh man, I hated it. Like she would just be down the subway.
Have you seen her in SNL?
No, I don't really know like what, and I don't know if this is close to what she like does usually, but like she didn't tell jokes or like it wasn't quip. She would just look at a ghost and be like, "Oh hell no!" And I was like, nothing is funny about that. Like I have no interest in hearing you say that for like 40 minutes. So I don't know. For me, like that particular like, you know, out of the 4 of them, like one of them I just really disliked, but the other 3 I thought were pretty good. Especially like Kristen Wiig, I thought was like spot on this movie. I really thought she did a good job. Yeah. So I thought it was a decent comedy. I thought it was a pretty bad, like, quote unquote Ghostbusters movie. You know, and I don't know what that means exactly, but I don't think it did a good job of balancing its pieces. Like I thought it was funny, but pretty uninspired in terms of like the actual plot and the science and the ghost busting. Like especially the bad guy and the final scene, like I had no idea what the hell his motivation. I don't even know who he was. He didn't have a name until like he was just the janitor for like 40 minutes of the movie, and then you get his name for 5 minutes and then he dies. I was like, what the fuck is this? Like, but you know, that was my basic thoughts. Is that totally off the mark or kind of close to what you guys thought?
Well, we went to see it together.
And we thought, like, where is their Oscar? Like,
shut up, Ethan. We went to see it. We went really late at night. What was it was like 9:55. The showing was.
It was late.
There were like 4 or 5 other people in the theater. We sat way in the back because Ethan and I are hella annoying when we go see movies.
We're so bad.
We're really bad to see movies.
Wow, I cannot imagine that.
Shut up. Watch yourself. And between our awesome commentary, well, okay, to be fair, we watched the movie.
We did.
We really we took it seriously. Ethan, what were your takeaways? What were your thoughts with ultimately Ghostbusters, new one, female one? Oh God, this is terrible.
Yeah, I completely disagree with you. Actually, I think the comedy was like few and far between. Like there were a couple moments I could remember that were actually funny. And so I had just finished watching the original actually last night, and now that I have this comparison, I mean, not that I think I should be doing that, because it could still be like completely different and also really good. But now that I do have this comparison, like I see why people are upset, because there's something really charming about the first Ghostbusters. It's just like really funny and like a really interesting way. And this new one, even though all of those women are hilarious comedians, I mean, I'm a huge fan of SNL. I watch all of them. I've watched all of them through their seasons of SNL. I was just a little disappointed. And I don't think that was their fault. I think it was just bad writing. I don't think there was very good filmmaking happening. It just didn't feel as cohesive as the original Ghostbusters film. Overall, I agree with the parts, or I agree with you in the sense that like there were parts that were funny, and those parts independently were really funny. But I mean, it didn't make up for the quality of the film, which wasn't funny. It was unfunny.
Yeah.
But I mean, and yeah, I think overall that was my opinion of it. I mean, I'm kind of disappointed I spent $7 on it. Like, I could have bought a Chipotle burrito. But you know what? Like, I'm glad I saw it. I'm glad I supported these women. I mean, I think it was cool that like they really like took a risk. But overall, I mean, it just wasn't good for me.
Yeah, I mean, I think what you're saying, Will, about it being kind of like a disjointed thing, really, that's the thing I remember thinking the most, like, while watching it. It's like, wow, they really don't know what they're doing. Like, they have all these moving pieces, and they don't really feel, like, cohesive. What you were saying about it feeling like they were trying to do, like, mini SNL sketches, like, really, that's what, like, I remember having that exact thought, like, during, like, watching the movie. It just
it's pretty bad in handling it's like it can't pay attention to more than one thing at a time.
Yeah, exactly. And that thing you were talking about where they did like pseudo ghost science jargon to do like all of their exposition, it was just like so mind-bogglingly simple, and like it's just like a dumb way to do expo for like a film like that. Like, oh, we're just gonna have Kristen Wiig and oh my God, what's her name? Melissa McCarthy just like spout off nonsense for like a minute and a half to explain away why ghosts are appearing and what they're doing and what like the mechanics of the world that we're living in. Do you remember that one scene where they were explaining ley lines?
Mm-hmm.
That's like the only scene in the entire movie that handles like exposition in an okay fashion. And by okay, I mean like you don't notice exposition is happening. Like it's fun to watch.
It's pretty miserable in the sense that like when they go science mode, like you're right, it is like a solid minute of the movie just like lost to them saying total bullshit. Like and not even like
it's supposed to be funny, but it's not.
It's not. It's really not.
Because it's all the same joke over and over again. It was like they didn't understand that like this like if they were gonna do pseudoscience, like make it funny. Okay, I'm gonna be real with you on the podcast. I haven't seen the original Ghostbusters. I'm a terrible human being. But I actually thought it'd be kind of interesting to have somebody on who just watched the new movie and like had like that perspective. Like it's like only that film. And even like somebody who hasn't seen the original, I feel like it was so obvious they didn't understand how to use these main 4 comedians effectively. And they did a mix of, we're going to do SNL comedy, but we're also going to do like original like Ghostbusters comedy. And they tried to like smash those two together, and it didn't work. They didn't use them together effectively. Do you feel like that's accurate?
Yeah, I think that's fair.
I would also agree with that. I think that as I said before, they're four extremely funny women. Like,
yeah.
I mean,
these are proven comedians.
There's a lot of evidence of that.
They're very funny people.
And I just think that failure is just like, it's just non-cohesive writing and like not utilizing their comedy skills, because I think their type of comedy is also a little weird, which I think is in the Ghostbusters category, and it just didn't feel like that to me. It just felt like boring.
So
yeah, I
think ultimately, like, both Ethan and I walked away feeling like kind of sad, like kind of disappointed. You know,
I feel like I wasn't
end on a high note.
I feel like I wasn't like actually actively disappointed with it. Like I wasn't, because I was expecting it to be like really, really bad, and like I said, I kind of was able to take the comedy parts for what they were and just dismiss the non-comedy parts, and I was like, all right, that's fine.
Yeah.
But I do think you're right. Like especially the first movie, when you do eventually get around to seeing it, it does like a really good job. You know, those guys, the three kind of like main Ghostbusters, Harold Ramis and Dan Aykroyd and Bill Murray, they like the film does a really good job of being kind of like smart and intelligent and involved with the like the pseudoscience and the ghostbusting part of it, to an extent that like most of the comedy comes from that stuff going on and it doesn't feel forced. And I also think that like that the way they play the characters, like it feels more, how am I trying to say this? It feels like this Ghostbusters to me, the new one, it felt like all of these women were friends outside of the movie, and like they couldn't kind of shake the fact that they were friends and just like getting together and improvising on a set, and like it just came off as them like getting together on a Saturday and doing it. Does that make sense at all? Like it didn't really feel like they were playing like strongly defined characters as much as it was just like Kristen Wiig doing what Kristen Wiig always does, which I found funny. But like in the original ones, it felt like in the original Ghostbusters, it did feel like the characters were more defined, and it didn't just feel like them kind of sitting together as actors and riffing off each other. It felt like they were kind of like trying to do a story. And, you know, with Sigourney Weaver's character in the first one, there was kind of like a romance subplot and some kind of subplot like outside of the Ghostbusters. And I don't think this movie did a good job of like working in a bigger universe into the Ghostbusters. Like it felt very small and just kind of these four women riffing and like doing, you know, improvising with each other. And like the big, you know, putting a... Oh, go for it.
Sorry, I want to jump in on that because I think you're right. And I think it's not just in terms of like character. I think Ethan and I both were like, in terms of filmmaking, the world itself felt very small.
It felt very small
Ethan,
and limited.
We were watching.
They had like 3 sets, like 3 different places. They were always at that. So they had that alleyway.
Yeah, exactly.
They had that Chinese restaurant, and then they had like a random hotel. Like the 3 places they were at.
And it was weird because it was like these short, sporadic scenes that it would be like, okay, now we're going to the alley. Okay, now we're going to their office. Okay, now we're at the hotel. And it was like 1-minute scenes in each of them, and they just kept like moving around.
But like, wait, Manny, I actually have to say something positive. So even though we both thought it was like on par with like maybe like Spy Kids 3, in terms of film quality, I have to say Kate McKinnon was hilarious.
Yeah, she was so funny.
She was so funny.
Easily the standout.
And she, after watching the first one, I can definitely think, like, I just think that she really fits in with Ghostbusters. Like, she was really good at like capturing what the first film had. I mean, she did have those stupid monologues where she would talk about like ectoplasm and weird science, but like the parts were like our favorite joke in the film is when she was like, "It's 2040 and our president's a plant."
Yeah.
Oh my
no,
gosh.
I agree. I do think like her comedy tended to be more based around like her obsession with the ghost stuff, and like it kind of fit in with the idea of Ghostbusters more. Whereas the other like characters just sort of felt like separate characters who then happened to be Ghostbusters. Yeah, I do think like she probably fit the most into that universe. I also thought when I was watching it, so this is like totally off topic, but when I was watching it, I was like, holy crap, I really want her to be Captain Marvel in like the new Marvel movies. Like she was just cast yesterday, Brie Larson was going to play her.
And
but
the casting was good. What's that woman's name?
Brie Larson.
Yeah, she's real.
She's a phenomenal actress.
Yeah, and I don't know anything about her, but like I just watching Kate McKinnon and like cause she sort of had the hairstyle of like Carol Danvers, and she kind of like looked like it and was kind of like more of a like hard edge badass in this, like as much as any of them become badasses, which is not a lot. Like I was just watching it being like, man, she would be an awesome Captain Marvel. So that was a total aside, but I thought that would have been cool.
Yeah.
No, I agree with that. I think Kate McKinnon easily. I think what you're talking about is right. Like Kate McKinnon was the only one like playing a character. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
exactly. The rest of them were just them.
In the film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And her outfits were so cute. like seriously, like I mean, I'm so glad they didn't dress them up as just like all these like frumpy women. Like they all had like really cute, like distinguishable outfits, which is also an aside. But like Kate McKinnon, like her outfits were on point.
Yeah, she easily was the standout for both of us. Like she would come on screen and we would both just light up because do you feel like I feel like she easily was the least scripted of the four, and that gave her the most room to play. I don't know if you felt that way. I felt that way.
No, I mean, I think you're right. It's like, it felt like, I don't know if it's scripted or not scripted, but it's like when she was playing a character instead of just playing like, instead of Kristen Wiig playing Kristen Wiig and Melissa McCarthy playing Melissa McCarthy, like, you sort of know what you're going to get from them in each scene. And there was sort of kind of like an unpredictability to Kate McKinnon's character because like she was playing actually a character. So you kind of like had a little more, back and forth with her about what she was, what she was going to say or like what kind of crazy weird thing she was going to do next. But I did enjoy, I thought she was really good. Like I said, the only person that didn't hit for me was Leslie Jones. And I think that's just like a facet of what comedy I like and don't like. Like, I don't think she's like an awful actress or anything. It's just, to me, like it just didn't hit the mark for like the interaction between her and the rest of them. Like I just wasn't interested in it.
You didn't like her in every scene where she had her 2 lines where she would literally say every scene, hell nah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like it just felt kind of like cheap, and like honestly, and I don't know like how much of a race thing or like comedy, but like Ethan, when you were watching the first Ghostbusters, like they honestly kind of do that with the guy in the first one, and I don't know what his name is, but let me see if I can find it.
You're talking about like the black guy?
Yeah, the black guy. Ernie Hudson. So like in the original Ghostbusters, he kind of just like comes in halfway through, and then like in all the scenes, if you actually go back and pay attention, like all the scenes where they're showing the Ghostbusters, he's usually like cropped out of the side or like just doing something inconsequential. And so like I honestly felt like, and I don't know if that's maybe me reading too much into it, but it kind of felt like they like, I feel like that's one criticism that you could level against the first Ghostbusters is that like the token black sidekick is handled very poorly in it. And I think that they honestly like kind of fell into that trap again with this one. Like just having her kind of like you're saying, like be the person who's like, yo, y'all gonna need to know the city. And like, I'm gonna be the person who, is like the grounded, like everyman person. It just felt like it was unfortunately on the nose for being like, oh, there's the crazy black lady, like, yeah, or like when she comes out and she's like, oh, you get a car and you get a car. I'm like, oh yeah, like an Oprah joke from the token black lady, like that's really edgy. Like it just really fell flat for me.
I mean, like, I don't know, like. I mean, to like give her some credit, she did have the awkward ending scene where like she like was arguing with her uncle, which was the worst way to end a movie.
Oh yeah.
Like,
yeah.
So weird.
Wait,
I agree. It was.
Oh, go for it.
Go ahead. Okay,
I'm gonna go for it.
Okay, you go for it, Amanda.
No, I want to go for it. If nobody's going for it, let me go for it real quick. Because one thing that the arguing with the uncle. So the uncle was Ernie Hudson from the original movie. And
really?
there were
reference,
all of the other guys appeared in it who were still alive. Like Dan Aykroyd was the taxi driver, and then Bill Murray was the I don't know why Bill Murray's part was in there, who just like died.
Well, and Sigourney Weaver too.
And then Sigourney Weaver was there at the end. I thought her cameo was probably the best handled out of them. And then
wait, I actually have a question. I have a question.
Go for it.
So the three dudes were just other people in this universe. They didn't have anything to do with Ghostbusters. They weren't acknowledging that Ghostbusters ever happened, right?
Yeah.
Am I correct?
Yeah. Yeah.
But Sigourney Weaver's cameo was her as a ghost scientist.
Yes, but she wasn't playing the same character from the first one. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, and that's what I wanted to say was that I was actually kind of disappointed in that because, like, I felt that there was kind of a missed opportunity to have the original guys and Sigourney Weaver appear in some sense that was more weighty than, like, what they did. I was kind of, like, expecting... Because especially with the way that the actual plot advanced was, like, so terrible. Like, the guy... Rowan, the janitor, like his reasons for doing whatever and like why he was even interested in the paranormal was like
people were mean
almost
to him, Will.
Yeah, but I mean, like, it was almost like actively underexplained. Like they took I don't know what the hell they were thinking, but I was kind of wishing the whole time that instead of having this like random just nonsense plot, that it had maybe linked in more with like the older Ghostbusters, like maybe they were somehow involved with coming back because there was like, especially at the one of the very first scenes when you see like the professor leaving Kristen Wiig's office, there's a golden bust of Harold Ramis, who passed away like last year, the year before, and I thought because there was a bust of him in this science like building, I thought maybe they were gonna somehow connect it because, like, you know, he played a scientist in the first one, but ultimately, like, they didn't, and Bill Murray and Dan Aykroyd were just like incidental cameos, and as was Sigourney Weaver. So like I really felt that they missed an opportunity with that to like not make it such a hard reboot and to kind of weave in some amount of the older things, like even if they had just had them like, you know, cross paths as a team and see the older guys in jumpsuits, I feel like it would have been a nice fan service to people who maybe weren't so hot on this movie.
I think there's also like the biggest, most glaring problem about this movie to me is that besides obviously it not being as funny as I would hope, like it does sort of it claims to be a comedy, and I wasn't laughing quite as much as I think I should have been. But also like the relationship between Kristen Wiig and Melissa McCarthy was supposed to be like the emotional center of this movie, right? Like they were trying to like build these themes off of like people disbelieving ghosts, like people who basically Kristen Wiig's character Erin had like the most emotional arc where she like had to learn how to accept the fact that people were going to think she's crazy and that's okay, and like she had like the story where she told the story that she told about like her neighbor like showing up at the like, the foot of her bed every night for a year. Like I actually felt something there. I was like, that's actually like a really good character motivation, and really like explains to me why she's acting the way she's acting. Yeah. And then they kind of just like threw that away until the end
when she goes to hell to bring back Melissa McCarthy.
Yeah, that was
like out of nowhere.
Man.
That arc hadn't been like addressed for like 20 minutes. Like there was no inclination that they were fighting or that. Like, there was never a point where you didn't think she was gonna, like, jump in and save her. Yeah. It was very, like, Big Hero 6. Am I right?
Yeah, yes, no, I agree. Yep.
It was almost like shot for shot the same,
was the giant puffball robot. Oh my goodness. Kristen Wiig was the tiny Asian boy.
I
guess the point I'm trying to get at is, like, it felt like they were trying to make this, like, a movie about friends saving New York City. Yeah. But they never got to the point where I felt like the characters were really close. Yeah. In any way, you know? Yeah. And I mean, I haven't seen the original Ghostbusters. I've seen a couple of video essays on it, and I've seen a couple of clips on it, and I think even from just the little bit I've seen, you can tell that the cast, like, the characters themselves have chemistry with each other, and, like, are engaged with each other, and, like, if there were no ghosts in this movie, those people would still be interesting to see interact with each other because they exist outside of that sort of, like, the context of ghosts. I felt like the newer one didn't get there. Like, those women were only as funny as the ghost let them be. You know? Yeah. Which I think is a huge mistake.
I also felt that the ending of the movie, like, it actually reminded me a lot of... I mean, not in its literal construction, but in the way that I viewed it, it reminded me a lot of Batman vs. Superman, where, like, the first...
yeah, me
too. The first, like,
totally
50 minutes of it...
the whole time.
What's up?
Yeah, just all Batman v Superman flashbacks the whole time I was watching. I was just making fun of you. Sorry.
Well, it was weird. Like
Let's
the
be friends.
first like 50 minutes when they were kind of like building the Ghostbusters team and getting like Liam Hemsworth, or was that Chris Hemsworth? Yeah, it's Chris Hemsworth. Getting them all like together and stuff.
You can't tell them apart.
I mean, they're both phenomenally attractive, but this is
so
the
here,
more
I'll help
attractive.
you out. Liam's the gay one.
And Chris is the other gay one.
Chris, I think, is more attractive of the two of them, and he was very attractive in this movie. But
we definitely had this conversation while watching the movie.
Yeah.
it's an important thing to think of. But my point being that like at least like the film was kind of funny / more interesting when they were building the team and getting themselves together. And then it did the same thing with Batman vs Superman, where the last 30 minutes was like, it just felt to me like a totally disconnected CGI mess of like like it wasn't interestingly filmed. The combat scenes or whatever you would want to call them like weren't well done. Like for some reason
there was only one of them. There was
and it was like a Halloween.
Yeah.
Ghost carnival
green
like
screen.
And so like the last 30 minutes I was like really disappointed in, and it felt the same. Like I was kind of like nodding off, just like Batman vs Superman, where I was like, why should I care about this like it was just so boring.
I mean, there was a point when I turned to Ethan and was like, it was during the climax when they went into the hotel and were confronting the janitor.
Yeah.
I turned to Ethan and I was like, this is the climax. There's only 10 more minutes of this movie.
I thought that too. Yeah. No, it was like I think it was like 30 minutes too long. Because it was like 2 hours.
Yeah.
If it had been if it had ended when they like confronted him and he like zapped himself and he turned himself into something powerful then. But like having him do that and then having them go off and like have to reconvene again like another 20 minutes later was just too much.
Can I also like add in another criticism?
Yeah, go for it.
So I was like kind of surprised at the pace at which they were figuring out how to like fight ghosts and catch ghosts. Like there was never really a moment where they were like, okay, now we're gonna like go through this period of like trial and error. It was just like oh, and now we're catching this dragon demon. Like, like there.
No,
I mean, because like
I agree with that.
After watching the first one, they like went through a process of like, oh my gosh, like we all suck at this, and then they got better. And then in this one, it was just like
there wasn't a learning curve. Really.
No, there wasn't.
They were just like, oh, that book we wrote was totally
right.
right.
And like Kate McKinnon was like, here are all these really dangerous, amazing weapons. Go use them. And then they used it in that like super long battle.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what I was talking about with like the first one works the comedy so well into the ghost busting aspects of it, and in this one it just felt like off screen somewhere. They figured out how to be like the tits at everything, and then they just showed you them like capturing ghosts. Like it wasn't explained or anything like that. Yeah, I totally agree with that.
Okay, so I want to leave on a high note because Kate McKinnon was so funny.
Yeah.
Chris Hemsworth was super hot, and really, when you pay $7, what more
can you
expect from a movie, right? Am I right? I do want to say there were things about this that were endearing and like could have worked, and I think that's why I'm like more disappointed because it was obvious that this could have been everything we had hoped.
Like it could have been redeeming.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But it just wasn't for me at least, and I think Ethan feels the same way. I'm glad you had a better time than you were expecting to, though, Will. You just
I was expecting it to be awful.
Yeah. Okay, I want to move on from just what our general thoughts on the movie to kind of the conversation around Ghostbusters, because I think that's all, sadly enough, more interesting than the film itself.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
If you've been on the internet, then you probably will see that Ghostbusters is actually getting better reviews than maybe you would expect to see from our review of the movie, at least Ethan and mine's.
Well, also, like, when they released that trailer, it was the most disliked trailer, like, in YouTube history.
On YouTube history, YouTube history ever. But the actual reviews of the movie are surprisingly positive. And then there's quite a few critics. There's few critics who are like, no, this is actually a really bad movie, and that's really important. Because you can't just say it's a good movie because it's finally a comedy with all women. You know, like we're finally getting to the place where women are getting cast, so we have to like the movies that we're given in order for them to make more. You know, and that's sort of the conversation around Ghostbusters right now. And I think that's interesting. I think we should talk about that. Yeah. Will, what do you think about Ghostbusters and feminism?
I was actually surprised at how well the movie handled it. And let me explain what I mean. In that, like, there were a lot of opportunities for there to be kind of like things about. I don't explicitly think that at any time somebody who was telling them to stop or somebody was that like, oh, you're just women, like, don't do that. Like, I was actually surprised at how little the film like fell into that trap, and I think I kind of want to like applaud it for that, because I was really expecting that to happen. Like when they went to the dean for funding or whatever, he didn't say like, oh, you're women and scientists and that's crazy. Like, he was just like, no, you guys are like fucking crazy, like stop. Or like the mayor or whatever, the mayor wasn't like, oh, you know, you girls go back and know your place or whatever. Like, I was pleasantly surprised, and that's not to say that it was like, you know, groundbreaking or amazing in how it did anything, but I was pleasantly surprised that it did not like hit that nail on the head as much as I was expecting it to. Like, it did sort of have some modicum of just like presenting these women and just being like, take it as it is. And, you know, Kate McKinnon's is a crazy scientist, and she's this other, you know, Kristen Wiig is like a MIT professor or whatever, and it never really like threw up anything about men coming in and telling them to do something differently, or them getting like, it was less explicitly referencing that than I thought. So I don't know, like, maybe some people think that's good, maybe it was bad, but
I thought the movie handled like gender relations way better than the people
Yeah.
talking about the movie.
Yeah,
are
oh, absolutely.
handling them now.
Yeah. And so I just wanted to say,
think-
before we get into the bigger conversation, like, in actual terms of the movie, I think it did all right. Like, I was,
Yeah.
you know,
I agree with that.
bravo, like, small applause, good job, Ghostbusters. You didn't fall into the trap that I thought. But yeah, people talking about it has been really shitty, because it's either like, it does get into that kind of double-edged sword that you were talking about, where it's like, maybe you don't like the movie that much, but you kind of want to artificially pump it up a little bit because it is, you know, an all-female comedy. And then you get into like the conversation, like, is that kind of like patronizing, and like, you know, should we be taking down the quality that we expect of something just because it hits like, you know, something that you are passionate about in a different sense? Or you get to the other side where it's like, people who hate the movie, you know, it could just be misogynistically motivated. Like, a lot of the comments on YouTube, you know, with the negative things were just like, you're destroying my childhood, or you're destroying this franchise by bringing women into it. Like, they have no place in this franchise. And that's just like pure out and out misogyny that has no real relation to the movie, and is just, I think, you know, more of a reflection of like the shittiness of the people that would comment about that. So I don't know. It's like, it's kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't. Like, if you give it a great review, then people will probably be like, oh, you know, this was a shitty movie, you only liked it because there were women in it. And if you give it a bad review, then you run the chance of like kind of like really, you know, feminist crusading types on the internet being like, why didn't you like it more? You hate women. So it's like a tough thing around it, I guess.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, no, that's all really good analysis of the film. I think there's like a lot of things to talk about. I think the first thing that's really important is whenever you have a film like this, where you have actors or actresses. Yeah, I'm not sure what the proper term is.
It's actresses.
Well, no, because I know some people like are like trying to.
Does it matter?
Yeah, I think some
That's
people just
true.
prefer to use actor for every gender, but I don't know what.
Yeah. Oh, I guess that's a conversation we can have. Not right now, though.
Right. I don't know. I think it's really important that even if you expect these movies to be bad, it's important to go spend your $7 on it. For me, because I mean, part of the reason that women don't get cast is because people don't think there's gonna be money. Like, it's not gonna make money, and it's just like, if we don't go spend this like small amount of money to watch the movie because we think it's gonna be horrible, I don't think there's gonna be as many places for these minority actors in the future. So yeah, like that's something I think is important. Like, even though I heard really bad reviews, I think you should go see it. Like, spend the $7. It's important. I mean, I think the movie did a good job at, you know, not stereotyping.
Not being too preachy.
Right, like not being this thing where it's like, this is obviously like a movie that is like breaking boundaries. I mean, yeah, it's just like, I think the true feminist thing, which is obvious, would be regardless of gender, this movie was bad.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's kind of the question you would have to answer for your, reviewers should be answering.
But still, go see it. Like, honestly, like, I mean, maybe you'll like it, but like, go do. In my opinion, go see it.
I guess, I don't know. I'm kind of conflicted because it's like we shouldn't be forced to spend our money on shitty movies just because those are the only movies being made with women in them. I think also, like, if you really break down, like, I've done a little bit of research on this, and like, statistically speaking, movies with women as the leads don't make less money than movies with men. Like, there's no statistical basis to this claim that Hollywood continues to make. And also minorities too. Like, it doesn't, that bias, that like financial bias does not exist.
Wait, so is the bias that like leads of minorities, like women or like people of like cultural backgrounds, like don't get paid as much, or they do get paid as much? Like, what
they
are you
don't
saying?
get paid as much, but the movies that they're in make, like, when you sorry, I'm trying to think of the right, like, the mathematical word, but when you normalize for like all the variables, you normalize for how many screens they were in, you normalize for the budget of the movies, like those like huge like gaps, like those financial gaps that Hollywood claims exists, like like you can't make a black Superman because he won't like make as much money as a white Superman, right? Like, those actually don't exist historically in movies. Like, that's an utter myth, I'm pretty sure, from the data I saw. So that's bullshit. If you don't like Ghostbusters, I don't think you should go see it. Like, I think it's pretty clear from like what we were talking about. Like, not once were we like, well, if Kate McKinnon had been, if she had like a dick, like, that movie would have been funnier. Like,
well, and maybe I'm changing my mind then, because I mean, I would need to see the evidence for myself.
I mean, I don't think it's. I think that there is this idea that like you need to prove to the people making the things that you enjoy, like, where you're going to spend your money. Like, we talk about it in the comics world too, Will. Like, spend your money on what you want to see being produced, right?
Yeah.
Like, I don't think that's wrong. But I think also, like, at some point you have to be like, okay, Ghostbusters didn't work, and it wasn't because they weren't men.
Right.
It was because the movie was made pretty badly.
But do you think that there's this relationship of people hating the movie, people not going to go see the movie, and
because there's women in it?
Or no, I mean, like, I guess what I'm trying to say is, like, someone like Kristen Wiig's always going to have a career. I think she's established that. Like, someone like Kate McKinnon, someone like Leslie Jones, the results of this movie could really determine the future of their career. And I really like those actresses, and I really would like to see them succeed. And keeping chances.
That's fair.
And so it's just like, I think it's important for me to spend this money.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that comes like down to the motivations that you have about it, because like I get what you're saying. Like, if you love, it's the same thing with like music or comics or whatever. You're right, Amani. Like, if you love a writer on a certain comic, like maybe you'll buy that comic just to support them, even if you don't like it. I mean, for me, it comes down to like, I would rather not give like false perception of quality to Hollywood based on monetary things, if that makes sense. Like, if I don't like the movie and I don't feel like it's a quality thing, I would rather like not throw money at it just because there's women at it, like or in it. I would rather kind of like have the returns based on, and it's impossible to say that there's a 1-to-1 return based on quality of the movie, but for like me spending my money, I would probably put that as like a more important thing than kind of like being like, oh, I want to, like keep Leslie Jones in Hollywood, let's go see her movies. Like, that's not that important to me. Right. But I do see that like it could be, a motivating factor to somebody. But I think one thing about like the hatred of this movie and like is like, the real vitriol or negativity towards it, especially when it was announced, was the fact that it was taking something that was established and shaking it up. Like the Ghostbusters had existed 30 whatever years ago, and it's kind of like, Bridesmaids or whatever, like, came out and was like a really awesome comedy movie, and a lot of people liked it, and I don't think there was that kind of hatred towards something like that, like a female dominated cast, because it was something original and just on its own. And so, and it is good. Yeah, it is, like, a lot of people, consider it to be one of the better comedies of the last, like, 10, 15 years. But I kind of wanted to bring the conversation towards the franchise ownership question that we had, and like
I think that's
of the fact that like the hatred of it, is it like a false? Is the whole like the feminist argument about it? Is it kind of like a false like thing that's been pasted over this movie when like the actual argument about it is like you're destroying my childhood sort of thing, you know, like that kind of feeling of like of basically what I'm trying to say. Most of the people that are hardcore nerds, I think, are probably in like the like 25 to like 45 age range. Does that make sense? Like in the sense that before like 1960 or 1970, before like Star Trek and Star Wars and stuff, nerdiness I don't think really existed that much. So a lot of the people that are like, let's say 35 now, grew up with the Ghostbusters movie, like possibly being one of their favorite movies, or at least like a big part of their childhood. And so I think like a lot of people who are being negative about it are kind of in that age range of like, you know, 30, between 30 and like 40, and are kind of like geeky people who feel a strong connection to the original Ghostbusters and who don't want the franchise to be something that's not aimed at them. Like they don't want Ghostbusters as a franchise to have passed them by. You know, they want to kind of like still have skin in the game when it comes to that. And I feel like that's kind of unfortunate because it leads to this really, really negative reaction when, like, honestly, this particular movie is not made for them. Like, because of the way it's a reboot and because of the kind of the steps it takes to distance itself from the original, I really feel like this was not even remotely intended for that audience who would have liked the original film. Like, I feel like it kind of was made for, like, a younger audience, or at least, you know, not for the people who maybe would have been even alive to see the older ones. Do you think I'm like, is that like way off base, or do you think that's like close to accurate?
I mean, I think that's, I don't know.
I mean, if they were intending to market this towards a younger audience, they would have hired like Miley Cyrus to be Kate McKinnon. No, seriously. No, I'm being completely serious though. Like, I think all these actresses are people that, you know, are like older comedy, like it's SNL, you know what I mean? Like 10 years ago, like you have like Kristen Wiig, right? I mean, Melissa McCarthy has been like the past like 10 years. I don't think this is marketed towards like 13-year-olds. I mean,
no, yeah.
Not going to enjoy it or whatever. But I do see what you're saying though, and I partially agree.
I guess I just like. I mean, I think you're right. Like the idea of like where's the misogyny coming from is like an important question, you know, because like. Bridesmaids did not get this much hate because it didn't have anything, you know, like people weren't.
Yeah, nobody had stake in what it was. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's interesting. I think like it doesn't really matter where misogyny comes from because it's like really manifesting itself in kind of like an ugly way, and I think like the fact that the movie was bad just like sort of compounds the problem of like the conversation around it because you can't really like separate. The fact that this maybe
that's what makes it really hard.
Yeah, because like if it was a good movie, then it'd be easy to sort of dissect. Like, okay,
exactly. Yeah, if it was like an amazing movie and people were still hating on it, then you could be like, no, like you're just an asshole and you just like are disliking it because of you know XYZ. But when it is like something that's you know at best kind of middling mediocre and at worst like pretty bad in its construction, then it kind of you get into like the weeds. Where it's like, are you disliking it because you don't think it's good? Or are you disliking it because, like, you want this particular thing out of it that it's not giving you? Or are you disliking it because you hate, like, women? Like, there's so many different ways that you could spin it, you know?
And for somebody who, like, hasn't seen the original, I can totally understand how this movie could be disappointing to people who love the first one, you know? Like I was kind of sad. And I haven't even seen the first one. Like, I get that. And I understand that conversation. I think, you know, when you bring gender into it, obviously, like, you become really problematic and you're mistaken. But, like, the question you're talking about, like, I think leads to something bigger, which is, like, at what point does ownership of something stop, right? Like, somebody grew up with Ghostbusters, grew up with Star Wars, like, and now we're seeing, like, a new generation of these franchises coming about. And for the most part, I think people who are having the problems with them are the ones who are remembering what they
I agree. You know? Yeah.
So at what point do you kind of have to like be like, okay, like this is not my thing anymore. Like it's time for the next generation of nerds.
That's a really hard thing to say. Yeah, it's a really hard thing to do. Like when something comes out, you know, happens with like video games too. For example, like the new Zelda, for example, is so different than previous ones. And I think a lot of people's gut reaction is to be like, oh, like this isn't the Zelda I grew up with. But I want to to those people that would say that, or to say about like, this isn't the Ghostbusters I grew up with, or this isn't the Star Wars I grew up with, like, those things will always be there. You can always go back and watch the first Ghostbuster, and like go back and watch the first Star Wars, or go back and play the old ass Zeldas like from 1991 or whatever. Like, the real question is, does new entries into something, like, does it retroactively ruin something? You know, like, did George Lucas making the Phantom Menace and all that like craziness, like, did that put a stink or like a retroactive negativity on the original trilogy? And I think, like, ultimately the answer is no. You know, like, it didn't change anything about those original ones. It might change the one you like, the way you consume them, but if you're somebody who's like getting all up in arms and uppity about new franchise entries being brought out, like, you know, realize that like you were saying, this probably isn't for you anymore. Like, you know, you've had your golden age and your heyday with this franchise, and like, why should, you know, some this is somebody's first Ghostbuster movie, you know, it was your first Ghostbusters movie. Yeah. But like, why should somebody's first Ghostbusters movie be beholden to like somebody's ideas about what something should have been 30 years ago? You know, like, that feels like really backwards to me. Like, we should be moving. And, you know, not that this movie is like great and amazing, but I feel like in general, there should be more of a focus on moving forward and making it good for the here and the now, and not trying to satisfy, like, you know, the rose tinted glasses of 20 years of nostalgia, because like, you start to stop viewing the original for what it actually was. You start to give it so much more credence and importance in your life. But like, you know, maybe it's just time to move on. And if you want to watch the old stuff, you can watch the old stuff, but don't try to shackle the new stuff from being something that it could be, like, just because you have this baggage with it. That would be my like plea to people, I guess.
I want to interject really quick. I guess I'm just really confused as to why these people are so angry about it. Like the people who are saying, you know, like, this is ruining my childhood. It's like, I understand the issue with like Star Wars, with the Phantom Menace, because that's a whole universe. Like, that's this whole place where you like have characters and you have storylines and you have places that, like, it's just like a whole, like, you know, like, I guess, like, creation. Whereas like Ghostbusters was 2 movies, and I mean, it's not like this like universe like Star Wars
and an animated TV show.
Okay.
And books.
Wait, was it based on books?
There's like a million like there's like canon that just got like erased when they made the new ones. When they made The Force Awakens, there was like a huge.
Oh no! Oh
no! We're talking about Ghostbusters.
I was like, did R.L. Stine make those?
There probably are Ghostbusters books somewhere.
Oh, there probably are. I'm googling it.
It's just like, why are these people so concerned over like a movie that had Bill Murray in it? Like, I mean,
Bill Murray's amazing.
If you're listening to this, Bill Murray, if you're listening to this, I respect you. I celebrate you. I'm not a fan, and I'm sorry.
Have you seen? Are you a Wes Anderson fan? How have you seen Wes Anderson movies and not have like a deep love for Bill Murray?
Wait, who's Wes Anderson?
Oh God!
Holy shit!
Oh my gosh! Am I like just like, I just need to leave. Where's the door? Where's my pocketbook? I need to leave.
Oh God! No,
wait, let me Google this.
No, I agree with you.
The official,
I do agree with what you're saying, though.
Of Ghostbusters, though, Nancy Holder wrote it. A woman. Oh my God! The official novelization for a new generation of Ghostbusters, based on the new movie. Oh, it's not based on the new movie.
Oh my
starring
God.
Melissa McCarthy, Kirsten Wiig, Kate McKinnon, and Leslie Jones. Oh.
Wait. Okay. Like, this is all cool, but like, wait, who's Wes Anderson?
He's a director.
Wait, let me pull Amani first. Do you know who Wes Anderson is, Amani?
Yeah. Don't insult me.
Name 3 of his movies.
Grand Budapest Hotel.
Okay.
Oh, that was amazing. I saw that.
Fantastic Mr. Fox.
Okay.
The Darjeeling Limited.
Darjeeling Limited. Good. Okay, we're good. Then everything's good. We can continue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God! I can't believe you had to test me. You didn't think I knew who Wes Anderson was?
I mean, you didn't. Okay, you admitted on a podcast that you didn't know who the Velvet Underground is. So, like, I always and forever question.
You're no longer a hipster.
That's true. All right. Okay. Just getting back to the point. I actually want to weigh in on this. Like, this idea of like, does new canon ruin old canon?
Yeah.
As as a highly emotional creature, I understand the feelings of people who say it does. Do you know what I mean?
Mm.
Yeah.
But like, I agree with you, Will. Like, your plea that you so eloquently spoke to the masses who listen to this podcast.
All 10 people.
Yeah, yeah, all 11 people who listen to this podcast. I agree with your assessment of that, but like, there is something highly emotional about things that you watched when you were a kid.
Oh, absolutely.
Especially when it comes to nerd culture, and especially like that generation of nerd that you were talking about, where being a nerd was like not cool and not okay. You know?
Yeah.
Like they had to want it. You know?
Yeah, it seems like it's kind of like cheapening. You know, it's kind of like the same thing with Marvel movies. It's like everybody's into them now, and I think there's a certain age range of people that are resentful of that because they're like, "Where were you when I was getting beaten up for, you know, talking about the Hulk at school? Like you were nowhere near this, and now that it's out in like a theater, it's your thing. Like fuck you, this is my thing." And I get that. Like, you know, that can be really frustrating.
Yeah, but then that's not really like an excuse for like blatant misogyny.
No, it's not. I'm not trying to make an excuse. Yeah, absolutely not. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm just saying, like, the other side of that. And I do want to say, like, as a woman, I don't know who you...
Same.
As a female, like, I think this is a great example. Like, all of the Comic-Con trailers had just come out. And it's like we have one woman who, like, there's one woman who has a lead, Wonder Woman. And then, like, in all of the others, they're, like, nowhere to be found, you know? Like, Wonder Woman's in, like, the Justice League movies, and Suicide Squad has three women in it. But, like, you know, King Arthur, that trailer, which looks boss, by the way, we want to talk about it, has, like, no women anywhere in that movie, right? Because Guy Ritchie just doesn't know how to, like, handle people with boobs. And, like, Doctor Strange has, like, a couple of shots of his lady friend, like... like she's crying at his bedside.
Tilda Swinton's pretty big in
but
Doctor
she's
Strange.
not like there are no shots of her like actually like doing things, you know? Like all of the action sequences are with men. And it like maybe it's to the point where I'm just like so angry and so just wanting to be represented that I'm just like, I need women in everything and I need them to be amazing and like kicking butt and like I need people to not be acknowledging the fact that it's so weird that there are women in this movie, right? Like I need the movie to not be about the fact that they're women. That I'm like, thank God for Ghostbusters, right?
Yeah,
and,
no, it did
right.
do that pretty well.
Yeah, it did that really, really well. And I think it's actually kind of refreshing to be like, yeah, women can make bad movies too. Look, we're equal in all, like, in all things.
That's true.
It wasn't their gender. It wasn't their gender that like had the movie on its knees. It was the fact that it was like poorly directed and ultimately like poorly written, right? Like, and that they were actually good in spite of it. You know, like it's kind of refreshing to be like, look, there's only women in this movie. You know, which like almost never happens. And I don't know, like for me, it's really frustrating because I'm of two minds of it. Because I do understand, like, the need, like, when Ethan's like, you should go buy a ticket to this movie so there can be more women, it's like, part of me is like, please go do that. Yeah. You know? Maybe I just went on, like, a little rant that has nothing to do with that.
Well, like, we had a dialogue, we had a conversation at Chipotle a couple weeks ago. It was so good.
Where most conversations happen.
But no, like, we were sitting outside Chipotle, and we were talking about how it really is the responsibility. I mean, I think it's our responsibility to sort of support these sort of things. That's my opinion. Yeah. But it's also the responsibility of these movie creators to sort of take it upon themselves to make movies with women. I mean, like, they always talk... Like, I always watch these roundtables on YouTube of, like, directors being like, we need more women. And it's like, then hire them. A lot of these casts can be made with women.
It's and like you're fully capable of changing, like you're fully capable of making that happen.
Well, and Ghostbusters is an example of that. You know, typically men's roles, like as we've seen in the past two movies, that can be easily made with women. I mean, it was bad. Yes. But I mean, those characters were made with women. And I think that is a conversation.
There was no point where I was like, oh, if only they were men. Like, it's like, no, men in those... It just... I don't know. Like, to get back to the idea that, like, we're trying, like, as a community, the nerdy community is trying to protect something that, like, it grew up with. Like, I get that. But, like...
But, like, get over yourself.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough because, like, the like, reality for a lot of nerdy people is that, like, the things that they collect, you know, for let's say even for myself, like people who are retro video game collectors or comic book collectors of like older stuff, most of like if you're a nerd, a lot of your adult life is spent trying to like rebuy your childhood. You know, like people collecting toys and like people collecting old video games, people collecting old comic books, like whatever. Like so much effort is put into repackaging and reacquiring stuff from, you know, the late 70s up through the early 90s that is like really amazing. And you know, it's kind of like, you know, I don't think any of us have a lot of interest in this particular one because I don't think any of us have much attachment at all to the original Ghostbusters. But like if you go back to, you know, things from the 90s, for example, that like we would have grown up with and probably have like really fond, you know, memories with, and like if they were getting remade and sort of changed completely, I think there would be like maybe more of a visceral reaction on our end of like, oh, this like messes up what it was when it was young, you know? Like just, and I'm not saying that, like, once again, I'm not trying to give an excuse for, like, I don't think it's a good thing, but I'm just saying that, especially in nerd culture, so much effort is put into recapturing that, rekindling that flame and that love that you had when you were younger and things were simpler and you know, Luke Skywalker could solve all the problems and, like, you know, it wasn't such a big, complicated, messy life that you were living. Like, I feel like a lot of effort is put into capturing that, and that's why, like, in my opinion, there is so much resistance to change because
these people need to use that criticism then. Like, it's just like, why make it this thing where it's like, oh, like, women suck, this movie's gonna suck. It's like, you have totally legitimate criticism here of, like, this movie's just not well done. It's just like, why not take that avenue? Like, why do you have to be, like, blatantly sexist? Whatever.
No, I agree.
I mean, if I bought every single Ghostbusters figurine back in the 80s, I'd probably be angry too. So, but you know, like, I agree.
Were you alive in the 80s, Ethan?
I've been alive since the dawn of time.
Oh.
Wow. Me and Aslan were chilling.
Awesome.
Cool.
Are
guys,
there any
last
thoughts on it?
Yeah, I was going to say we're done.
You know, I made that line, the line, the Witch in the Wardrobe reference, so we could move on to Tilda Swinton.
Is she in the Narnia movies?
No.
Isn't she? Yes, she is. Yes, she is. She plays the witch. She plays the witch.
No, she's not.
Oh wait, who is that?
I have literally no idea who plays the witch.
Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to confirm or deny, does Tilda Swinton play the witch in The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe? All right, guys, we'll see.
I don't think she does. Right. Just spoiler alert, I was going to say no.
All right, guys, we're back. And we would like to report that Tilda Swinton was, in fact...
in the Chronicles of Narnia.
In the Chronicles of Narnia.
Very
she
true.
Was the queen. What was the name?
The White Witch.
The White Witch. She was the White Witch. Ethan.
Well, do you want to be the next level of nerdiness, Ethan? Do you know what the White Witch's name is?
Oh yes, Jadis.
Correct. Look at you.
Right. Yes.
Wow.
My mom was Christian.
All right. So, guys, instead of what used to be my favorite section of the podcast, which is what we have been reading, watching, listening to, we are going to do my new favorite section of the podcast. Comic-Con just happened and a bunch of trailers just dropped, and we thought we would go through really quick and just talk about each of them and kind of give you our thoughts, give you a little snippet of what we're thinking. Right, guys?
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to start off with what, I mean, I guess you could argue was the biggest drop at Comic-Con, which was the Justice League special Comic-Con footage. It's basically a trailer. Mm-hmm. And for those of you who don't know what Justice League is, why are you listening to this podcast? We're just going to go ahead and talk about it like you do. Will, you texted me that this trailer confused you. Am I right? Was it
Did
this
I?
one? I think it was. I think so. Yeah,
Possibly
I told you that I was like, I think the conversation went, my eyes were constantly rolling at this trailer, but I also want to see it. What does that mean? You said, yeah, it wasn't what I was expecting. Oh, you weren't confused by it at all. Okay.
No.
You were unconfused by this trailer, not confused. What were your thoughts on it? What'd you think?
I would say, like, generally I was more positive than negative on it. it looked a lot more like, I mean, I'm not going to say like Ocean's 11 or anything, but I was surprised about like how much it kind of felt like one of those like getting the team together kind of movies. Like, and I mean, and that's the only footage they showed, but it kind of reminded me of like, you know, obviously not the Blues Brothers, but it kind of like, you know, when they're like going around in the car, like recruiting everybody and like find, you know, for like this big showdown. I thought it looked all right. I thought a lot of the interactions were like really cringeworthy. Like I just the kind of like the lines and stuff are like exactly what you would expect from like a getting all these superheroes together. But
yeah.
In general, I'm glad to see it anchored around Batman and anchored around Ben Affleck's Batman. Like, because that was one part of the movie that I did, one part of Batman vs Superman that I did like. And I know not everybody likes him, but I did like his Batman, and I am glad that it's kind of like set up as him trying to get this threat like in control and kind of using him as a pillar to bounce everybody else off of. So yeah, what'd you think?
I mean, I agree. Like, it was so full of just like one-liners that were just
pretty bad.
Really
I mean,
bad.
I don't know Ezra Miller at all. I don't know Ezra Miller like even a little bit, but like his lines, I thought those were awful. Like because he's the Flash and Barry Allen. Like when they were sitting in his like little laboratory, I was like, oh man, this is trying to be funny.
Sitting in
and
my
like
second favorite chair, man.
Oh,
I mean, he
that's
took
so
his character
bad.
from Perks of Being a Wallflower and was like, let's play on this.
He was so good in that movie. You
So
should
good.
watch Perks.
I've seen
I'm talking to Will.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm just making eye contact with you.
I've
It's really, really good. He's really good in it. Like, he's a really talented actor. So I'm excited to see him in that. Also, that haircut.
Yeah, I don't know. I
It was
just like
so
it
good.
felt
It was so
really
good.
on the nose in this. I don't need that.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I don't need every character to have like their personality boiled down to like one-liners that they can exchange. I was not feeling that.
Well, that's what you got.
That is absolutely what it is.
Ethan, what'd you think of it? As somebody who doesn't know anything about... As somebody who saw The Flash and asked if that was Robin after he had caught the Batarang.
Well, this is. I guess it's good to have my opinion because I have like a lay understanding.
Yeah. As somebody who doesn't really know about this universe.
I mean, it was cool. Like I mean, Khal Drogo was in it. He's from what's it called? Game of Thrones. He's from Game of Thrones. You know what I will say is that I was actually like, I was like entertained. Like I was like, you know, I'll watch this. Like,
did you understand what was going on?
I think so. I mean, I watched the Justice League cartoons growing up, which
Okay.
I think was like a little bit different cast. Like it was a little bit different, like
Yeah.
superheroes.
Yeah.
Like wasn't like the the Martian
Green
Manhunter
Lantern,
and stuff.
Martian Manhunter, and oh my gosh, Hawkgirl?
Yeah. So like, I mean, I watched the cartoons growing up, so like I know a little bit. I will say that it was entertaining. I really, really liked Ezra Miller. Like I mean, his one-lines were annoying, but he looked really cute. And
That's true.
What if it? Okay, here's a funny idea. Okay, let me pitch like an alternative Justice League. So
Alright.
like, what if like it goes to the chair and it swivels around and it's Christian Bale? Or it's like it's George Clooney.
That would be better if it was like Val Kilmer
what if
and
they
George
release
Clooney.
like a trailer for every incarnation of Batman?
That would be funny.
But yeah,
I would love this recut
good.
with Val Kilmer.
Yeah, that would be hilarious.
It was
Be
good though.
amazing.
I was entertained. I'm probably gonna see it. So
I mean, everybody and their mother's going to see this movie.
It looked. I mean, I made the same mistake
Just one
with. I made the same mistake with Batman vs Superman going in, where I was like, "Oh, these trailers look all right," and I mean,
Yeah.
like this looked all right to me. It looked like it could benefit from, like we were saying previously, like Jeff Johns being more involved and I don't know. It looked fine.
It was definitely like a lighter tone than Batman v Superman. Like, you can tell that they really were like, okay, this is a different kind of a movie. Wouldn't you say it was kind of sad how, like, basically Cyborg was in, like, a second of the whole trailer because nobody
And
is
I also-
interested in the black guy.
I think
Let's be
he
real.
looked.
Like,
Oh
I
my
think
goodness.
his looked really bad. Like the cyborg at the eye, I was
Yeah.
like not feeling that. Yeah.
Did you see the picture of like all of them standing together? The Flash's costume is absolutely horrendous. Like,
I have not
looks
seen that picture.
You should look up the image because it is monstrously bad.
Is it the same one
They're
that he was
actually-
wearing in Batman vs Superman when he like ripped through the time warp or whatever?
I don't think so. I think it's different.
I don't know.
I actually have a question about that.
Yeah.
About costumes. How come these people who direct these movies make like the costume choice to go super literal, like instead of a little bit more figurative? Like
What do you mean?
they decide like for Flash, it's like we're
Example
gonna
of
we're
that
gonna
is-
use a bodysuit. Like why not like I don't know, like it's like that's exactly what they do in the comics. Like why not like maybe play around
Change
with
it
that?
up?
Yeah. I don't know. It's just like would they
I
realistically
feel
wear
like
this?
I feel like this is the version of them changing it up, like what we're looking at right now. I just pulled up the imagery. That
Oh yeah, no,
This
that's
is them
that's
changing
pretty
it up from
different.
the comics.
That's pretty
it?
different from the
Yeah.
comics.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
I guess
That looks
I'm
like a
coming
lot
from,
more-
like a functional perspective.
It looked that looks like a lot more high tech. If you haven't seen this, like it basically looks a lot more like sciency and high tech and with like little metal plating and stuff. Whereas the comics,
Yeah.
like the comics, I mean, for a long time, literally Barry Allen kept his costume in like this ring, and he would press
Yeah.
a button and the ring would like spout out his costume, and then he would change into it because it was just like cloth. So this is.
I will say that
I think-
Triton
I
is
think,
bad gay.
I think him and Cyborg, yeah, Flash and Cyborg, I think look pretty bad, honestly. Aquaman, I'm all right with, but
Yeah.
neither of them look particularly good to me. Like
and everybody will
as
be glad
costumes.
to see that Wonder Woman's skirt has gotten shorter, and
and
there are more holes in
did
it.
Henry Cavill fall in a vat of oil?
Yeah, he's very- It's interesting that
He's
they
super
released
slick.
a photo with Superman. Like, obviously, they're
Don't people know that he's dead and he's not
yeah.
coming
That's
back?
what I'm saying. Like, it's interesting that so quickly that even in the promo art they are like, yeah, whatever. Like,
just not acknowledging Zack Snyder's horrible mistake.
yeah, that's
Man,
kind
I
of
really
funny
hope
to me.
that Ben Affleck is more involved. It feels like a different kind of a movie,
Yeah.
and that's the positive for me coming away from this trailer is that it feels different from
Yeah.
Batman v Superman. So I'm gonna watch it. I'm gonna go watch that crap.
To be honest,
Next
I was hoping
trailer.
for the Cyborg from Teen Titans.
Yeah, me too. Such a good show. All right, moving on.
Moving on.
Doctor Strange, the official, like a real, actual full-length trailer got dropped. Yeah, Ethan, what did you think of Doctor Strange?
Doctor Strange, aka Mushroom Trip, as I like to call it.
Yeah, it's pretty trippy.
It's really interesting. You know what I will say is my brother is a huge nerd, and he's really into Doctor Strange, and so like I watched. There was like a cartoon movie that came out to Redbox, and
yeah,
I
it's
watched
supposed to be pretty good.
Yeah, it's really good. And the whole entire idea of Doctor Strange is really cool, and I'm really excited. I was watching it, and I will say, I was like, "Is this Inception too?"
Yeah,
Yeah,
totally,
it
like,
has a
give you
lot of
Inception.
visual cues from Inception for sure.
Yeah, like the whole thing, basically.
Yeah, which I mean, like to be honest, like it's cool. Like it's cool. It's really trippy. It's like psychedelic, and I think that is what Doctor Strange is. I will say that when you told me before you watched the trailer that Benedict Cumberbatch, aka the person that's actually not human, that lives on Earth, was playing Doctor Strange, I was a little surprised. I was, but I mean, he looks like him, and I think that from what I saw, he's gonna do a good job. So this is probably my favorite trailer we watched.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think, Will?
I think it looked pretty cool. I mean, it's sort of one of those things like one of the things that I have liked about Marvel in the past is that they are able to do different genre films and then basically like somehow connect them by the virtue of the characters and not so much by virtue of the like consistent filmmaking. You know, they're not all the same movie. And so like I am kind of glad, I do think you're right. It pulls like very liberally from Inception. I mean, like quite strongly, but that's kind of cool. Like if they can make it work and make like a, sci-fi psychedelic trip movie, and still connect it to the Marvel universe, like I'm pretty down for that. I also feel like for me, the casting is like really weird. Just the whole casting in the whole movie is odd. Like especially Tilda Swinton as the like martial arts like inner guru master with like her
Yeah.
just like shockingly pale skin, bald head, like monk robes. I am not feeling her in this role at all, and I usually kind of like her, but yeah, that just feels really off. And I saw
Is that
a
character
flash of
typically Asian?
Old
I
Asian.
don't. I believe so. Like I think generally in the comics, like Stephen Strange is, it is something along the lines of he, goes to like Eastern Asia or like Nepal or whatever to find himself and is taken in by like these
So
ancient
messed up.
masters.
But-
So like Tilda Swinton just seems really weird in this, and also I like actively hate Rachel McAdams, and I saw her for like 2 seconds, so I was pretty bummed
She
about
is
that.
the love interest in this.
Yeah, and so like to me, I don't,
She's
and
like a
like even
nurse.
Benedict Cumberbatch, who I think will be good in it, like I don't think he's gonna be bad. Even him, like he just seems like kind of an odd choice. Like when there were rumors kicking around that it was gonna be Joaquin Phoenix, I was like, holy fuck yes, like I want that so much, and
Yeah.
it's not that. So like across the board, the only person that I am happy with is and I'm gonna butcher his name, but is it Chidawaji Ejiofor? I'm sorry, I'm saying his name
Chiwetel?
totally wrong.
It's
Chiwetel
Chiwetel
Ejiofor, I think.
Ejiofor.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's
He
amazing.
seems pretty good. Yeah, he's a great actor, and like he seems, his particular like vocal delivery and stuff, like it seems very close to what he was doing in like Serenity, kind of that like serene killer kind of thing. And he looks all right, but the rest of the casting, I'm just like, it's kind of throwing me off on it. What are your thoughts?
I mean, I was in the same boat. Like when I heard that it could be Joaquin Phoenix, I was like, "Oh yeah." But then I
Yeah.
feel like Benedict Cumberbatch is the safest choice for this role. Like it's basically Sherlock, but with magic, kind of.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no,
I'm
you're right.
sure Benedict
feels
Cumberbatch
good.
is a very good actor. I'm sure he's going to give us a different layered character. I'm sure it's going to be great because I really like him too. But I think
Mhm.
Joaquin Phoenix would have been a much more interesting choice.
Yeah.
But I'm not mad at this trailer. Like I
Yeah.
had no expectations of Doctor Strange. It's not one of the characters that's on my radar.
Mhm.
I think he's interesting and cool, but I had never I wasn't hyped for this movie. And this trailer, like even though it was like a blatant Inception like ripoff, like
Yeah.
it's cool that that's the direction. Like the magic felt consistent in like how it looked and felt, right?
Yeah.
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 And that just happened, and that just happened to be like the Inception look that they were going for, and I'm okay with that because it felt really clean the whole time. Like it wasn't like, oh, we can do magic, we can do anything. It's like, no, this has like an actual like set of rules. You may not know what they
Yeah.
are, but it feels consistent. We're gonna like believe it when they're doing it. Like, and I'm not mad at the casting. I don't have a lot of hate for Rachel McAdams. I think she's fine. I'm sure she's only going to be in like 10 minutes of the movie. I
Yeah.
can see why people
I
would
hope
be
so.
really, really offended by Tilda Swinton.
I
that
mean,
role.
they're definitely
But I'm
breaking
not.
rules. Like, I'm kind of hoping they aren't gonna try to make Tilda Swinton an Asian woman.
Yeah,
No,
I'm-
sure
I
she's
just don't know
gonna
what they're
be this
doing with that.
androgynous.
Yeah,
She's
Yeah.
just going to be this androgynous like guru, which I mean, whatever.
I mean it's kind of problematic, but it's just like, to be honest, like those two characters, I agree. Like Regina George, I'm done with. Oh, by the way, to the nerds that are listening, if you don't know who that is, watch Mean Girls.
Coco. She doesn't even go
but yeah,
here.
that totally. To be honest, like that applies to me because I really don't belong in this podcast. If this is your first time listening. But yeah, the Tilda Swinton thing is so problematic. But I think Benedict Cumberbatch is going to be pretty excellent.
I mean, the
like it.
trailer looked really tight, and
Yeah.
it was actually funny on purpose.
Like the Wi-Fi thing was funny.
Yeah, the Wi-Fi thing was funny. It was like serious, but also had moments of humor. Like you could tell they were going to give you like something that was, balanced and like told you a decent story. Like
Yeah,
I'm
it
ready
feels
for
it
that.
feels
Yeah.
You know what I'm
purposeful.
saying?
Like it actually feels like
Yeah,
they
exactly.
have a direction and knowing what
Yeah.
they're doing. Yeah.
Where the Justice League trailer was like funny, like on accident, right? Like,
Yeah.
like it wasn't. And also, like I think Justice League was fairly niche. Like the joke about like Aquaman talking to fish, the joke of, like all of the Flash stuff felt like you had to kind of had a background with those characters to like maybe fully get all the nuances.
I mean, I thought he was Robin.
Which is like that's not like your fault. I think that's the trailer like doing
Yeah.
kind of a bad job of selling you this.
I mean,
And felt
actually, I think,
Doctor
like,
Strange's trailer.
Ezra Miller
I
would
was
have
just
been a
gonna say, I feel
good
like
Robin.
Doctor Strange didn't do that.
Oh, for sure, he would have been.
Oh,
I think he would have been
man.
because like he's not exactly what I
Fantastic.
see of the Flash. Like I would rather have seen him in like a like a Robin role. I don't know.
Oh.
He really would have been, actually.
Yeah, he would. But I'm not mad. I'm glad he's in something. He's cool. I like him.
Yeah.
Doctor Strange. Yeah, I'm kind of hopeful. I think this will be good. I think this will be a good time. Good fun time.
Yeah, I think it'll be good. I'm interested to see how like they put him in the rest of the Marvel universe, because like they sort of are setting him up to be like, you know, really powerful and weird, and like all this stuff is like, you know, like the last scene where he's looking out on the city and it's like all these weird fractal buildings and it's sideways and everything. Like, I don't know how that's gonna fit in with the rest of the stuff. Like, if he's gonna cross over with, you know, Infinity War and the upcoming Avengers movies and stuff, like, how is he gonna work with it? Yeah, I'm assuming he is.
Sure, he signed. Yeah, he signed like.
I don't know. I mean,
like
I'm more
else.
like, and those are questions that I'm not like angry about. I'm more just like curious and interested. So I guess that they did a good job of just making me more like interested in the movie. Yeah.
It was a really well cut trailer. Like.
Yeah.
Probably the best cut trailer we saw.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about Wonder Woman. I want to talk about this.
Okay.
The Wonder Woman trailer dropped. We got a little teaser a couple months ago that I was really actually jazzed about. Historically, I'd been really mad that Gal Gadot got cast, and I'm letting go of that anger slowly with the help of my friends and family. Slowly through the 7 steps. Yeah. I just was really angry. Ethan's looking at me like confused. I was really angry she got cast because she's like a size 2 model. And she like put on all this muscle and now is a size 4. And I felt like Wonder Woman should be like big and beefy.
Who do you think should have been cast?
I don't know. Somebody awesome. Like it's not.
I honestly like. I have no interest or knowledge in like her previous to this, but I actually think she's a really good cast. Like in my opinion, she's close to what I assumed Diana would be.
She didn't make me hate her.
Well, I remember you like a year ago showing me pictures of her out of costume. And I was like, oh my gosh, she looks like she's in the Victoria's Secret fashion show.
She
which is not a bad thing, but it's like, that's not this place, right? But like, now that I see her in the trailer, I'm like, she looks beefy enough.
She's owning it.
She definitely like got thicker for this movie and stronger.
Yeah, but let's not talk about this. Let's talk about the actual trailer that dropped at Comic-Con, because they actually gave us it was a real like cut of the movie. Like it's actually...
Sorry, I'm new to this!
no, it's not you. It's me. I got us off on this. Will, what did you think of the Wonder Woman trailer?
I liked it a lot. I thought it looked really good in terms of like having a visual style that is like more subdued and not like very flashy and stuff. It's basically, as I understand it, it's like a period piece of World War I kind of era where it's not like the origins of Wonder Woman back to the beginning of time, but this is the story that's been told before in like movies and comics by DC, where like an American fighter pilot, in this case, like obviously it's World War I, so not really a fighter pilot, but basically an American pilot crash lands on the island, and then Diana / Wonder Woman goes back into the world with him to like discover what she's been missing. I thought honestly it looked really good. I liked the visual stylings of it. I liked the period piece stuff where it was kind of like, you know, them in like the smaller European towns and stuff. And then even I thought the fight scenes they looked to be well directed and choreographed. Like, I mean, I haven't seen that much of them obviously, but what they showed in this, I thought I was pretty happy with the way it all looked and fit together. But it sounds like you maybe weren't. But I'm feeling this. I'm down. I'm totally down with it. I like Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman. I like Chris Pine well enough to, you know, watch him be a you know, companion character in this, and I thought it all looked pretty good.
Yeah, I was a little bit like, I felt like the trailer was kind of weird. Like, it was trying to be funny, but, like, there was that really serious music going on underneath the whole thing. There were, like, 3 funny lines that they dropped that just didn't land because of how they cut it.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think if it had been, like, more serious the entire time... Yeah, because there's that one line where Chris Pine's like, oh, don't you know your father? And then they're like... If it had not done that at all and just had been more focused on the serious part of it, I think it would have been a stronger trailer.
Yeah, I think the trailer itself was kind of cut poorly. I will agree, though, the action looks awesome. Like,
I'm surprised at how well put together it all looks.
Ethan, what did you think of it?
I like how that's like you get me to talk. Like, I mean, it was cute. Like, she was giving me Wonder Woman. I think that was okay casting. I don't know much about her, but earlier when we were talking about Ghostbusters, you brought up this point where Ghostbusters did a really good job of not falling into the trap of like in the movie being like, this is a female movie, right? And I have a feeling from watching the trailer that this movie is going to be that movie where it's like, this is a female movie.
Yeah,
and it's just like,
it's kind of what Wonder Woman is, though. Like, to be fair, historically, like her character is literally going from a female-driven society into a male one. Like, you kind of have to address the fact that.
But there's ways of handling it that are better than like when at the very end when she like talks with the secretary. That's like one of those like, oh god, like there are ways that are handling it that are less on the nose and more subtle and worked in. Because if it's a bunch of like her walking into a room and everybody being like, oh, scandalous, and all the women being like, I like her, like I'm not totally. I agree, Ethan.
I mean, I'd be so down for seeing her like beat up some men. Like, I'm honestly
she
cool.
Will.
I mean, I'm cool with that. I think that's awesome. I think if she walks into a room, people are being stupid because it's like World War One. Like obviously that's a cool way of like her like being like, I'm strong, like F you, whatever. Like those scenes of it being like, oh my gosh, like she's so funny and like I love her, like right, like secretaries are slaves. Like it's just like there was like probably an easier and like subtle way to do that. That's not
it's actually like maybe realistic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I'm gonna have to wait to see the movie for this one because I'm so like torn on this. Like I do want it to be good though, and from an action like superhero movie perspective, it looks like it's gonna deliver. Like it doesn't look like it's making any mistakes on that front. We're gonna have to see though.
I would say that like out of these movies, like I think this was the most interesting trailer for me. Like I would probably rank it this and then probably Doctor Strange and then Justice League. For me personally.
For me, it was Doctor Strange, Justice League, and then this. Because I just want to see Justice League. I'm just like curious to see it. What about you?
I would say Doctor Strange, Wonder Woman, and Justice League.
All different.
Yeah.
That's why we're all good on this podcast.
But like, wait, I don't want to leave yet. I have a question. I know I'm not as nerdy as you guys. I'm so sorry. But before we came back. To talking about the trailers, I was asking about the powers of Wonder Woman, and I know that's like varied throughout like the different like portrayals of this character.
Yeah, she changes a lot. And
I was wondering, the trailer didn't really show like who is this person going to be, what's their ability is going to be. Do we know that? Like, obviously her lasso was shown, like she's going to make people tell the truth, like awesome, but like. I mean, can she fly? Is she
they
strong?
they just showed it glowing, right?
Yeah.
Does that mean it's the truth-telling lasso?
No, I don't think it will be. If I had to guess, I think they're probably gonna like, I don't know. I could see them kind of weaving it into something about like how she's so like inspiring and whatever, and like her presence makes you want to be a good person, and so like by that virtue you're unable to lie. But I would be surprised if they like on the nose have her ever wrap up like a German and be like, tell me something, and he's like, oh, the lasso. Like that would be kind of goofy to me. I don't know, like in Batman vs Superman, she's just kind of like powerful and strong. It's not really like ever, her powers are never like kind of listed.
Because the reason I'm bringing it up is just like, it'd be so lame if it's like in her power if she can make you tell her the truth. Like
her main power's always been that she's like really strong.
Okay.
She's Superman level strong.
I'm cool
like
with
she
that.
can fight Superman.
Cool.
Like generally,
And
she like
sometimes she can fly.
Superman and Wonder Woman are kind of like the two like most as far
Beefcakes.
as I understand, like the most like beefcake, physically strong kind of superheroes. So I mean, it seemed like in this you saw like the gauntlets, like she has that kind of like scenes where she kind of like clanks them together and they like are pretty awesome, and then the lasso is, there's a couple scenes with her fighting with it, but it seems like she's just kind of going to be like generally strong in this. Like I don't think she's gonna have like any particular like laser beam powers or like it doesn't look like she's gonna have the jet.
Question about the gauntlets. So she clanks them together and sends like a big shockwave out from her to like make all the enemies like.
She got them from Kate McKinnon's character in Ghostbusters.
My question is when she clanks them together, how come they don't like ricochet her back?
Because she's super strong.
Because she's strong, dude.
Yeah, she's a beefcake.
I guess cool.
Yeah.
All right, I think that pretty much wraps up what we thought about the Comic-Con trailers. Any
so.
final thoughts?
Are we going to mention
nope.
our faves?
Nah,
Okay.
I think we did.
It's okay.
Cool.
No,
All right,
I thought they were pretty good overall. I think there was a lot of stuff released. Like besides these, there was also Marvel teasers dropped, and then a couple trailers for there was a King Arthur movie with Guy Ritchie, and then the Fantastic Beasts. So if you are interested, and actually just now there was on like IGN or something. I saw that they just released footage of oh shit, I'm forgetting. What is the thing that I was looking at? I'm totally blanking on this, but there was just another footage release that people were looking forward to. Oh, Spider-Man Homecoming. There's a footage of that.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Oh, cool.
So if you are a trailer person or interested in buying into the hype of the pre-promo cycle stuff, there's a lot of trailers out this week for you to check out. So jump on them.
Yeah. Do it. Be happy.
Do it. Smooth transition. Ethan, thank you so much for joining us this week. I genuinely enjoyed your commentaries on things.
I'm really glad that I got to grace your presence.
What?
No, I'm really happy I was here. Thank you so much for having me. I'm such a huge fan of your guys' podcast. It's been an honor.
Wow, that was like really good.
And we'd like to thank the listeners as well. Thank you, Ethan. Thank you, listeners. Thank you, everybody, for making this all possible. And we had a couple hundred, I think somewhere around like 400-ish people watch the video from last week.
Nice.
So in addition to 375, which is pretty good. I mean, it's not like incredible numbers, but if you enjoyed the video, we're going to keep posting video and audio stuff as long as it is feasible. So thank you so much for checking us out in all these different formats that we are available to you.
Yeah, if you enjoyed the podcast, we hope you'll jump over to our Facebook page and join in the conversation. We'd love to hear your thoughts on Ghostbusters, on the trailers for Comic-Con. Please come and talk to Ethan. Stop making faces at me.
Wait, you guys have been recording? I've been picking my nose!
Yeah, jump over to our Facebook page. Become a part of the conversation. We'd love to have you. We love interacting with you guys. Obviously, if you don't like the video format, you can jump over to iTunes or SoundCloud and listen to the pure, unfiltered audio. Our voices. Pretty beautiful. And there's also videos now on Will's channel, Nerd Ventures, YouTube. Go check it out. We hope you will stick around.
Correctamundo. And while you are checking it out, if you feel in your heart a strong passion for our content, that was a weird sentence, you can rate and review and share all of these different, whether it be YouTube videos or iTunes or SoundCloud. We would greatly appreciate that. Share them around on Facebook or, leave thumbs up or comments on YouTube. Any different way that you could interact and just get be part of the community, we appreciate it greatly.
Yeah, especially those ratings on iTunes are especially helpful to a young podcast like ours. This is the part of the outro where I'm supposed to tell you what's happening next week.
I know, we're pretty bad about this.
We don't know. We don't know. So next week's going to be the mystery.
We're talking about the Kardashians.
Kardashian cool episode. Ethan, where can these fine folks find you on the internet?
Yeah,
plug yourself.
Great question. If you want to see my movies, if you want to go to my Instagram, that's where I post all of my art. I'm an illustrator, and that handle is instagram.com/EthanIllustration.
Cool. Well,
nice. You can find me on Nerd Ventures, the YouTube channel, which, like Amani said, will be hosting all of the podcast videos as well as other videos I do about comics. And you can also find me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and stuff at the handle The Nerd Venturer. So, Nerd Ventures on YouTube, The Nerd Venturer on everything else.
Cool. You can find me under the Nomer Nerd How on YouTube, Tumblr, and Twitter. All right, guys, get a cat.
We get a horse.
That was like the best outro we've ever done. It was messy, but it was fun.
Colon, name of your sex tape.
Wait, is this the end?